I'll first just talk about define what a transit is for those who might not know. So a transit is when the when you were born with a natal chart or a nativity. And those planets, it's a snapshot of your moment of birth and themes that might be relevant for your life. But after your birth, those planets continue to move. And up until today or next month or next year, they will be moving and hitting or activating various various places in your chart, the planets in that natal snapshot, which we call your natal chart. And these give us clues as to what themes we're working with, what crossroads we're coming at, and maybe what decisions or moves we can make to really optimize working with the energies that are coming and happening and occurring around us.
One great example I want to touch on is if you're a Capricorn sun, these last 10, 15 years, Pluto's been transiting your sun. Sun being your vital force, being your personality, being the life giver in your chart.
Mm.
Um, Capricorn well, Pluto hitting it, Pluto is your deepest truth. It's transformation. It's the underworld. Basically, a lot of you Capricorns have just woken up one day and you were in the underworld. You were no longer here. And you were dealing with a struggle, to reassert your sense of identity or
Rebirthing
rebirth
process.
yourself on many levels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a rough ride for you guys and gals in the last years. And to know that you had this transit would be to know that would be to have some sort of prep for it, in the sense that you can help and you can have empathy for yourself and understand that you're going through something, and it could maybe even help you relate to others that, hey, I'm doing the best I can right now. I'm going through something really
Yeah.
transformative and I can't maybe even articulate it, but something is happening to me in my life and I'm just doing the best I can to flow with it.
Yeah, and on a more general level, with just those Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn, even if you don't have your sun in Capricorn or even planets in Capricorn, knowing that these heavy energies are traversing your chart somewhere. So, what house is ruled by
Yeah.
Capricorn? That's going to be the area where maybe there was this feeling of struggle, resistance, transformation. And like you said, knowing our transits, not only is it empowering because we can understand what we need to face within ourselves or our external environment, but it's also, like you said, it allows us empathy for what we're going on personally and what others are going through in their own timelines.
I think that's the most important thing, because it can be really easy to just excuse people as being this or judging that, when in fact they may be going through their midlife crisis, Chiron,
Mm.
and or Uranus opposition.
Saturn return,
Saturn
a
returns
big
every
coming
seven
of age.
years, right?
Well, 29 years.
That's the big one. The first Saturn return of 29 and the second of 50, 58.
Mm-hmm.
Um, should we start with the transits?
Yeah, so Mario will walk us through examples of the main types of aspects by transit that people go through, starting with conjunction, which is one of the more obvious ones to spot if you're looking at the transits around someone's birth wheel.
Yeah, we'll start in order of how they happen. So with a conjunction, you have a planet arriving at one of your personal or natal, one of your natal planets, and it's, you can think of it like literally as it is. It's one planet being merged into another. Um, I almost want to say sometimes that it's like a possession, because you're taking on this new energy. It's like you're a computer and a new program is being installed, and
Oh, I
you've
like
been
that analogy.
given no warning, right? And now there's a new and you set up for your how you display your information, how your memory works, how you present yourself. Um, Conjunctions are a transformation of whatever planet they're hitting. It's also a return to that energy. in the sense that now that energy is being emboldened and strengthened within you. And so, what are you going to do with it? Right. The big
Mm,
question with transits is, what are you going to do with the energy? Because we're at choice. Even though it seems like there's a lot of fatalistic aspects to life, like we are at choice in how to navigate, how to
yeah, how to
guide that,
dance with it.
how to dance with the inner and the outer, right? The inner and outer
I think it's.
planets.
I really think it's just a combination of the forces at play, and there is a degree of free will. But I wouldn't study astrology if there wasn't some predetermined, you know,
Yeah. There are doors.
unveiling of it all.
There are doors that open when they do, and they'll close when they do, and you could walk
Yeah.
through or not. I mean, the planets present their initiations, and
Mm,
transits are initiation
they
points,
are.
especially the key transits. So doors open up, and you
Other
know,
ones shut.
and knowing when that door is going to open is to know, is to take control of your life to a degree and walk through, or this one, or and close that one.
Yeah, they're like threshold points. And then after the conjunction, which I also think of conjunction as like you said, it's an intensified blending that's happening, and it's almost sometimes like a spotlight happening in the areas of our life.
Oh yeah.
Then we have the sextile, which is a 60-degree aspect, and it's essentially like a weaker form of a trine. Sextile and both sextile and trine are considered supportive or more easeful or maybe more swift cooperation amongst planets, or um, yeah, either with a sextile, it's two elements that support one another, or a trine, it's within the same element. The planets are working together essentially to bring about some wave of change.
And I like to think of trines and sextiles as this something happening before you're even fully aware. Like, it just naturally just comes into being, or is in
Mm,
flow. And
yeah.
that's not always. Me and Molly were talking about this earlier. We don't necessarily agree that, or I don't agree that it's always like
Mm.
a positive development. It could be something. It could be Jupiter, with Mars or something. Trining together.
Of course, with any aspect, well, one, it's hard to classify as positive or negative, but with any aspect, it really depends on the planets, the players of that
The
aspect.
signs, which planet is more
Yeah.
comfortable.
And relating to themes, some people might work with the themes of Mars and view them as more inspiring than others.
It
So
might
it's
be
very
stronger.
subjective.
It might be stronger in their chart.
Very subjective to your own chart. After these more harmonious aspects, we then have the square, which is this point of tension, or this cross. I think squares is like crossroads.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Squares. I have a lot of squares in my birth chart, which is like coming to terms with all these tensions inside of me and how to act them out, to get them out of my body, to make them
Mm,
something I can transform into
mm.
whatever it needs to become. And the tension in squares is, it's an energy where you can't just easily point to what is happening or what is being done to you. It's not clear. All that's clear is that you're feeling and you're getting these messages from the verse that something needs to shift, something needs to change, and you have to act. And it's this very uncomfortable tension
It's
in
like
your
a
body.
crises point,
Mm-hmm.
a,
Yeah,
a crises of action is how
yeah.
Dane Rudyard kind of personified squares. So it's bringing something to I think, your kind of immediate attention. We could give an example. What's like a well-known square people traverse?
Um, Saturn every 7 years will do
Yeah,
either a square, an opposition, or a conjunction.
right. But we can just talk about like the Saturn square. There's this negotiation of what's worked in the past with what will work for my future.
Yeah, and Saturn is really good at destroying what's not working,
Mm-hmm.
and will build upon what's working, and will, as a it's a very powerful force that Saturn will reward you. If you're developing something that's working out, it will continue to help you to develop it. But if it's not working out at all, Saturn will definitely decimate its foundation and structure. It won't be supporting it.
And then that brings us to the opposition, which is a 180-degree aspect. So it's when you have a planet in the sky in the opposite sign of a natal planet, within 10 degrees or so.
Oppositions I like to think of as maybe someone getting in your face, someone getting in your way. Oppositions are definitely a polarity that comes about you and another person, this group and that group, this and that. And you can...
It's like either or decision
yeah.
time. It doesn't have to be a confrontation. I think it's a balancing of complements or opposites. It's like a synthesis point that must be reached through an opposition. But there's this stabilizing that happens where it's like you might feel pulled one way and then pulled the other, and you're trying to find that homeostasis between the two conflicting parts of your consciousness or external environment.
The challenge is humans are prone to projection. So we're prone to blaming the other. If someone gets in our face and to getting into the cycle of the victim and the victimizer, right? We're prone to that. So it's important to remember that you may get caught in a victimhood cycle when you're having major oppositions. You might just feel like you're just going to blame the other person for trying to change you or do this, but just recognize this: the person is just the garments of the verse, attempting to help you balance out, as Molly was extrapolating on it, help you to integrate those polar energies, because really they're within you as the planets are in all of us. And so you're just learning to balance out those two extremes in yourself so that you don't identify with either. We want to get out of the circle and the cycle of a victim and a victimizer.
And that really brings us to the point of why map transits, why go to an astrologer, why pay attention to this at all. Because some people might argue, oh, it's just going to happen to me anyway, who cares? Well, you can care because there's empowerment in knowing, this is the weather, this is the cycle I'm in. How do I want to ride the wave? How do I want to dance with it? I have an astrology teacher who says, the natal chart is the song playing, and you can even argue the transits are the song, the sound system playing, the notes, the chords, but you can dance to those chords any way you like.
Oh, I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it really empowers us to make, optimal decisions at the correct times and with the full information.
Yeah, knowing when to, and not get so caught up in attempting to control things, but to know the best time to make the move.
Yeah, where there's opportunity. All right, it's good. Cool. Signing off.
Thanks.